Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1702A, and today's date is October 29th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Stripping the Central Bank's Power is Easier Than You Think. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, for many years, we've been talking about how this economy is one gigantic illusion, and how many people don't realize that we're in this illusion. But one thing that people might not realize is that the government, they already know that this entire economy cannot be sustained. They've already run reports showing that it cannot be sustained. The people in government, they already understand, they already know that we are headed into a complete implosion of the system. The federal budget right now is on an unsustainable long-term trajectory. Federal debt right now is already high. It's continually rising. The country's fiscal outlook in the medium and long terms are both extremely troubling. Within a decade or so, official estimators project debt will exceed the size of the economy for only the second time in history. The projections show debt is on an unsustainable long-term path. While today's high levels of debt already threaten to slow economic growth, there is literally no precedent for deficits and debt at the levels projected over the next couple of years. If policymakers don't act or do something right now, the entire economic system is going to implode. The global economic system will implode. This is coming out of the Congressional Budget Office data. They already know what's going to happen to this system. And if they say, if we continue on this track with borrowing, and actually, forget about continuing. Since 2008, we've been accelerating the borrowing process. We're not slowing it down. We're not doing anything. We're continually borrowing at a pace that cannot be sustained. Now, the government office, the government officials, they already understand, they know what's going to happen. They've run many, many reports on this. This is why, when Trump came into office, he knew, along with the Patriots and those people that are working with him, that there was no way out of this. I think before he went in, when he was talking about bubbles, how the economy's fake, talking about this is ridiculous, what is going on here, Obama's running a fake economy. At that time, before he had the knowledge, I think he thought he was going to come into office and say, you know something, this economy is fake, it's an illusion. But I think when he went in there and he realized there's no way out of this, the system cannot be turned around. The system cannot be repaired. At that point, I think they all decided we have two choices. One, let's try to repair it. Let's try to bring back manufacturing. Let's try to tame the debt and see if we can make this economy work. Now, they knew right there and then that wasn't going to work. They knew the central bank system is not designed to do that, because the central bank is loaning the government money with interest attached, and you can never stop this. It just will never ever stop. Think of a household who's continually taking on debt, and they only making $50,000 a year, either one person working or both people working, but they're always just making $50,000 a year. Say they get a 1% raise, but their expenses are continually moving up, up, up. The interest on their debt is moving up, 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 and they continually take out more debt. After a certain period of time, it cannot be sustained. The same thing with what is happening here in America. The central bank system has set us on a path where there's no way out. The only way out is to collapse the system. Now, the central bankers, they were going to collapse the system because they knew they would have this story, and they can blame it on war, they can blame it on an event, they can blame it on many other things. This way they're not blamed in the end. Now the central bank, they have no one to blame this on. The Trump administration said, okay, let's take option 2. Option 2 is we get rid of the central bank, we collapse the system, and we restart the system as a people system. Now, if you listen to Q and you listen to what has been going on here, you understand the power is going to be returning to we the people. Now, that just doesn't mean, oh, the power is going to come back to the people where now we have the freedom of speech, now we have the freedom of press, now we have the freedom, of all these different things. That's not the only part of it. The other part of the freedom and the power that is being brought back to we the people is to manage our own economy, to create our own currency outside of the central bank system. When you restore the power to the people, it's not just the Bill of Rights, it's also the financial aspect of it. Because if you have a central bank who is creating the currency and then putting interest on top of that, they control you no matter what. We need to take control completely back. We the people will take control of the entire system. So they opted for option 2. And this is why Trump went ahead and hung Andrew Jackson on the wall of the White House, because he campaigned on getting rid of the central bank, and that's exactly what he did. Here we are right now. We are heading down that path where they're going to remove the central bank. This is why Trump has been contradicting Powell. Now, he put Powell into power because he knew Powell would raise the rates. What happens when you raise the rates in an economy that's created as one gigantic illusion? It implodes. Because it's not a real economy. You're controlling the interest rates, you're controlling the market, you're controlling the statistical numbers. It's not a free market. So what happens when you do this? The whole thing just comes tumbling down. So right now, this is what's happening. Now, people are saying, well, why doesn't he just get rid of the Federal Reserve right now? Well, there would be a backlash right now, because most of the people don't even understand what the Federal Reserve is. The mainstream media, they're still pushing their agenda, and they're on the side of the Federal Reserve. Now, if Trump went ahead and just said, we're getting rid of the Federal Reserve, there'd be a backlash like you've never seen before. So what is the plan? The plan is to demonize, and this is not really that hard to do, demonize and show what the central bank has actually done. Once he does this, and once they push an audit bill through, then at that point, Trump can make his move. How easy is it to get rid of the Federal Reserve? Well, Congress or the president may revise their Federal Reserve Act of 1913, stripping it of its power. In fact, the Fed's monetary policy cannot deviate too much from from Congress and the president's political agenda. If the U.S. administration truly wishes to make America great again, all the president needs to do, while auditing the Fed, is show how the Federal Reserve deviated from what their agenda was. Now think about what they've done up to this point. Do you think it was part of their agenda to loan out money to other countries, other banks, other central banks, to covertly send money other places, to pay off people? No. This would make it easy for the president to say, look what they've done here. They went completely against what the Federal Reserve Act says. And this is why Trump has been building this narrative against the Federal Reserve. Because in the end, what he's going to do, he's going to take down the Federal Reserve. And as time goes on and the economy deteriorates, he's going to push his agenda even harder and continue on with the Fed and criticizing the Fed and pointing out how specifically they're destroying the economy. This has been planned for a very long time. And eventually what he's going to do, he's going to push for a free market in money on a federal level. He's going to take over the Fed, and the government then will create the currency without interest. They will not need the central bank whatsoever. And this is the plan. Now, remember, when this is done on a level of just the United States, this is going to have a domino effect around the world, because then other countries they're going to see this. They're going to react. And many of the countries are going to follow suit. Just like we see countries now following suit and saying, you know something, maybe we should have bilateral trade deals. You know something, the people in other countries are saying, you know something, maybe we don't need these leaders. Maybe we need somebody else in power. And we're seeing this backlash. This is why we see many of the leaders in all these different countries. This is why they're getting very, very nervous. This is why they don't want the power to return to the people. Because once the power returns to the people, they're on the run. They're out of work. They're going to be thrown in prison, because that's when all the corruption comes out. That's when you find out what was really going on behind the scenes. While these people are in power, it's very easy to cover up everything. All the money transfers, what the central banks have been doing, all the free money that these politicians have been getting. When you control the mainstream media, when you control what is going on in government, it's very easy to hide all of this. When you lose control, this is when everything falls apart. This is when everything comes to the surface. This is when people realize what has been happening. This is when the truth comes out. And then you see these people either commit suicide, they run, or do whatever they need to do. And this is going to have a domino effect across the world. Central banks are going to be shook by what is happening here. This is why the Biz and the IMF are out there, and they're so worried about what Trump is doing with his economic policies. This is why they continually counter them, because they know he's going after them. And what do? How do they stop him? Well, it's a little impossible right now. I mean, they could try an assassination, but besides that, there's not much they can do. And they know it. So what they're doing is they're trying to control the narrative. They're trying to blame all of this on Trump, but it's not going to work. He has the upper hand right now. And once the Fed is exposed, it's game over for the IMF, the Biz, and the rest. Because one central bank is doing this. And remember, this is a private Western central bank. Once one private Western central bank, which is the Fed, if they're doing this, guess what? Then the others must be doing this. And then there'll be an investigation into all of these. Now, do you think they're going to allow an investigation into these private corporations? No. But here in the United States, we have the opportunity to do this. All that has to happen is Congress needs to pass the audit bill. The president can go ahead and say, you know something, let's get rid of this Federal Reserve Act. We don't need it. Let's pay them back the original amount. We're done with them. And that's what they're going to do. This is how easy it is. And we're headed in that direction. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.